I and letting your awareness really sink and settle into your body. Awareness really sink and settle into your body. No, I remember what's happening. I'm hearing myself through YouTube, and I'm going to fix that right now. Oh, I have to laugh at myself because the same thing happened last time. I was like, what's going on? Where's that noise coming from? You might have wondered that too. So I eliminated that extra background noise. Yeah, and so we're just taking some moments here. It can be helpful to close your eyes to make contact with your felt sense, letting awareness really come all the way into your body. And getting a sense for what your, energy level is like, how present you feel, what might be bothering you, what might be on your mind or on your heart. Noticing the predominant somatic sort of markers in your body. You might be feeling ease, you might be feeling activated. And with this next inhale, we sense an inclusion of what we're noticing into our practice, closing any gaps between where we are and where we think we should be. And from this place, you can sense into your intention, what it is that you're most wanting to feel or receive. If eyes are closed, you can just start to blink them open and keep the gaze down. So that before we lift the gaze, we're anchored in the body. Good. And then letting the gaze look up and sense the room. This never gets old. And it's really easy to forget. That's why we practice together. Good. And then we can orient to each other. Blessings, Alan and Candace and Devaya and Aaron and Ruth. So glad you're here. Yeah. So go ahead and put in the chat what intention comes through. We have we'll be talking about regulation today and co-regulation. And whether and this aspect, this idea of the third body. And today's teaching will support you wherever you're at in your relational world. And we'll be talking a lot about relationship. And so. Candace, your intention is peace. Yes, welcome. Yeah, good. Alan, looking for a sense of being settled and at peace with uncertainty. Good. Yeah. There's this, I've been hearing this in sessions more, unsettled, like unsettledness. And I sense it. There's a lot of unsettledness that's coming with this uncertainty. I want to repair relationships. Yes. Good, Ruth. In the right place. All right. My intention is for Aaron, my intention is for connection and calm. Yay, Devaya. Your write-up spoke to me. My heart and the loving support of the group is a treasure. Yeah, right. But I'm grateful to join in today. Me too. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. More to this. Yes, beautiful. Right. Yeah. Good. Let's dive in. So such new terrain, I think, for everyone too, this aspect of co-regulation. I'm going to, and I'm going to tie it a little bit to the third body, and as that relates to this concept of anatta that we speak of in Buddhist. I'm like, what's going on? My chat is coming through here that's usually just supposed to be on my phone. How funny. I'm gonna see if I can fix this on my phone so I don't know what's going on. I'm such a boomer. I'm not a boomer, by the way. I'm not, but with tech, sometimes I'm such a boomer, as my son says. Anyway, I don't even know why that's happening, but I'm just gonna go on. If you hear the ding, my apologies.
I can relate to technology. Technology is not my thing. I'm a boomer too.
Thanks, Candace.
I love it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so let's go. We're gonna, I'm so glad you're here, because the threads that I'm gonna tie together, I think will really speak to you, will really, I hope, enhance your peace and your practice. It's always my intention. So let me pull up my notes and we will dive in. So, I mentioned the third body. And I think the third body, and thinking about the third body in terms of what's created in relationship, every relationship has a third body. And this is actually a little piece of Robert Bly's poem that was taken from. So I wanted to start with this. A man and a woman sit near each other, and they do not long at this moment to be older or younger, nor born in any other nation or time or place. They are content to be where they are, talking or not talking. Their breaths together feed someone whom we do not know. The man sees the way his fingers move. She sees her hands close around a book she hands to him. They obey a third body that they share in common. They have made a promise to love that body. Age may come, parting may come, death will come. A man and a woman sit near each other. As they breathe, they feed someone we do not know, someone we know of, whom we have never seen. The Buddha talked about the three treasures, and I mentioned that we take refuge, or we talk about taking refuge in Buddha, and what that means is I take refuge in cultivating the connection I have to my Buddha nature, my true self, my essential self, my radiant self. And this is what we do in the practice of meditation when we sit. We take refuge in Dharma, which are the teachings. Like what I'm doing right now, there's and when you listen, right? Like when I listen to a talk like this, there's a sense I feel, it's palpable, of refuge in the teachings themselves. So we sense that there is refuge there. And then there's refuge in Sangha. And we can think of Sangha as spiritual friends. And our relationships, inside, are even outside of what we consider like this group, which is, the Sangha of spiritual friends, where we, this particular group, but then we think about the people that we live with, and that in ways, or the people that we come into interaction with, that too is in some ways a Sangha. And that we can start to view relationship as being essential to our own well-being. And this idea, this sense that we don't exist in a vacuum, we're not, which is sort of like the way I used to think about it, like in relationship, for example. To have a healthy relationship, say a healthy romantic partnership, or even a healthy friendship, that it was my responsibility to be whole and complete enough as I am. And then almost this linear thing, and then we can be together in this really healthy way. And what we're realizing more and more, is that it actually isn't linear in that regard, that we feel whole and enough and essential as we are only really through relationship. That sense of being who we fully are is enhanced tremendously by the relationships that we have with each other. And that what we want to start to emphasize and track and sort of mark in our own experience is this, what enhances our sense of being regulated. Just a different way of thinking about our well-being, our health. So we're really going to be filtering the whole talk today through this lens of co-regulation or regulation, being in fear or being in love, being related to the activation of the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, or being in this more restorative, rejuvenating, like, parasympathetic kind of love, right? Regulation. And part of this involves us getting out of our own way, so to speak. We could say a lot of the disharmony that we experience relationally comes from our lack of understanding about our part in relationship, and the ways in which we get really self-centered and narrow in our view, and we start perceiving the other through the filter of the mind and what the mind says. And I'm pointing to this as being something that we might even call kind of self-centered or selfish in our thinking mind, when we're really caught and hooked into that. That's one of the well, let me just say this. This is from Michael Singer. He wrote The Untethered Soul. There is nothing more important to true growth than realizing that you are not the voice of the mind. You are the one who hears it. I mean, it's so funny because the mind will go off, right? Like you could be really enjoying someone's company and they say something in a certain way and it ruffles the feathers, it stings the heart. And all of a sudden the mind just turns on the person, right? Like it's like this is the fluctuations of the mind are not the place from with which our peace comes from. And so what we're actually thinking about in terms of our practice is more leaning towards this anatta, which contrary to there's a myth in Buddhism that the Buddha talked about there is no self or something like that. But anatta does not mean that. It does include this aspect of what we think of as self. But what anatta points to, and I'm going to talk more about this, is more around how we can see through. We can see through what we take to be ourself. And in that way, we're able to connect in relationship on a much deeper level because we can see the harm that the mind causes in making the other unreal. And we can also see that the mind does that. So this is something else that, this is a little bit about anatta. The fundamental principle we must remember when traversing a spiritual path is that we do not have a mind. The mind has created the sense of you and me from the way it perceives reality. The truth is the mind holds us within it. We are not the possessor of a mind, and the mind is not something happening to us as if we were outside looking in. We are part of the mental processing of the mind. The thoughts of the mind and the sense of I are not two separate events. We exist only because the mind thinks us into creation. A very important corollary to this truth has immense implications for our spiritual practice. As an experience is being received by the mind through the sense door, the I reacts to the input and struggles with it. Since the sense of I is just thought, emotion, and mental phenomena, the effort to get control over experience is the I, if the mind fighting against the interpretation has given the data. Every act of volition, including all effort, control, avoidance, denial, and resistance, is an internal reaction against the meaning the mind has invested in the experience. If the mind sides with its reaction against its interpretation, it forces that experience outside itself as something that is happening to it. The more the mind tries to restore balance through force of will, the more irreconcilable the rift between its reaction and the meaning it has applied, between me and the world outside. It thinks itself separate and divides itself from the worldly struggling internally with its own processes. And that's something Rodney Smith wrote about anatta. The problem isn't that we have a view of others and that when we're angry or we're triggered, we make them wrong. The problem is we don't see that we do that and we take it to be truth. We're easily offended. And, I'll raise my hand to that. very sensitive. And there's nothing wrong with that, except when we don't see it as a passing experience. When we start to give it a lot of weight is where we run into trouble. So, Michael Singer said, if you want to be happy, you have to let go of the part of you that wants to create melodrama. I love that, because I can be so melodramatic. All of us can be. The mind is so melodramatic, And if we want peace in our relationships, we need to be less hooked by the melodrama. And, Maya Angelou, she said that people won't remember what you said. They won't remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And so this starts to point to this idea of co-regulation, and how, however my nervous system meets your nervous system, creates a new nervous system between us. We need to start to include ourselves without blame in what's working and not working in a relationship. It's like when we're caught in our trauma responses, we're tending towards either we're doing good or we're doing bad. They're doing good or they're doing bad. They're on the naughty list or they're on the nice list, whatever our thing is. And we need to see that whatever's happening, whatever, say, rupture or whatever's working inside the relationship too, we have to, without blame, without shame, include ourselves in that, but without taking 100% responsibility either. It's kind of moving away from the question, is this person right, or am I right or wrong? And to the question, do I feel safe and secure? And, do I feel safe and secure inside this relationship? This inquiry is made without blaming the other, because we certainly, it is being, whatever's happening is being co-created. Establishing safety and security is the ground for opening up to the deeper connections we crave in relationship. So rather than trying to be right, we orient towards feeling and establishing a sense of safety and security inside of ourselves. So this happens on a me level, right? I can self-regulate, which is super important to being able to co-regulate. But then there's this aspect of we can help each other feel better, or we can help each other feel worse. And we know that this is true. We know that we do create something together. And realizing we have a part in this without taking 100% responsibility is like, freedom. It can be like, wow, like there's so much possibility knowing this for creating something really incredible, inside of Sangha, inside of community, inside of relationship. This is from Stan Tatkin. When he taught, and it's Stan Tatkin, I love his work around co-regulation. Just read up on him. He has he has something called Pact, and Stan Tatkin, Wired for Love, is a good place to start that book. But yeah, this is what he has to say. This longing for a safe zone is one reason we pair up. And that's in any relationship, friendship, it's one of the reasons we pair up. However, partners, whether in a romantic relationship or committed friendship, often fail to use each other as advocates and allies against all hostile forces. They don't see the opportunities to make a home for one another, to create a safe place in which to relax and feel accepted, wanted, protected, and cared for. Your personal growth depends on your relationship remaining safe and secure at all times. Because if either of you feel the least bit unsafe, untrusting, or insecure, you won't have the internal resources for personal growth. Instead, your mind and body will be preoccupied by doubt and threat. So hopefully this enhances our sense of how important regulation is, and how just how our usual ways of, don't we do this? I mean, it's like, but don't we sometimes with the people we know and love and feel the most safe and secure with, or whatever, those can be the people that we pick on the most, or we can be the people that they pick on the most. And what if we shifted that? What if we realized that that was actually not the path to peace that it seems to be, but that's actually creating more and more fear, more and more disharmony. And so self-regulation strategies become integral to, also this idea of co-regulation. And remembering simple things like conscious breathing. We can all practice this right now together. You can consciously breathe as you listen to my words. You can listen to my words as you're in your body. Which feeling your conscious breath connects you to automatically. Now, this is an example that I introduce to us, right, when we come into Sangha together or in class in my yoga classes. But this is something that we can do to help ourselves be regulated or be in touch with our regulation as we're with other. We can kind of sense how often we abandon this connection with ourselves when we're with others. And we can sense that through this awareness, just even right now together, there's a reclaiming of our capacity to be calm together, to be at home, even, with you. I say even with you, because I don't know, others, that we're with, they may be dysregulated. And rather than making them wrong, our work is to sense what that's like in our body. And to soften towards that. Another self-regulation thing or strategy that we have practiced doing together is orienting. So we'll practice doing that together right now. Just what you want to do is let your gaze rest on something. And just take it in for a few breaths. And we do this as we're in the body. Now, some people also find it helpful to use words as they're doing this. Door, rectangle, it's brown, it's wood, it has glass. It has a gold doorknob and a gold lock, or gold, gold lock. White curtains, they're blowing in the wind. Computer, right? So you can, so this is something, it's a simple thing that you can do. If you notice that you are not, that you're moving towards fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or you're in it. Bringing ourselves into some, a regulated state now can help us be with others, but and vice versa, So, sometimes it's like when I worked with kids a lot more, my body being calm, not like a faux calm. Because, I hate that when teachers would have this kind of like, and like, oh, but it was like they were palpably not calm. I mean, like true. And I was that was my practice. That was the center of my practice, because from there, everything went better. I mean, my class, my kids, 100%, right? Like, were affected by my state of being. My kids now 100% are affected by my state of being. People 100% are affected by our states of being. And we're too often centered, focused on them and what they're doing wrong, right? If he would just be more still, if he wasn't so fidgety, if she didn't just get up all the time and need to go get water, or like the ways that we would, when I would, teaching kids, like, you focus on them. That's really doesn't work, never has, still doesn't. But what about if, like, we instead, it's like we tend to ourselves, you start to notice when you start to get escalated. And then your work isn't in controlling them, but, bringing yourself back into a state of calm. And then vice versa, right? Like, if you're spun out, it's really helpful to have someone in your corner who isn't, whether that be a therapist, a coach. A long time ago, I learned to invest in those people, because that was I couldn't always count on my husband, for example, but I can sometimes. So I might be spun out, and tell him. And we have a relationship where, he knows how to bring me back to reality. If there's particular spin outs that I'll have. Hey, I really need your help. I'm really spinning out right now. Right. And he can help me, give me reassurance, whatever it is that I need. Yeah. So hopefully we're going to transition now to our meditation. I hope that I trust that there was something there for you. And something illuminating, something helpful. You can let the talk go. Whatever you needed to receive, you did. And I like to mention at this point that these are freely offered, and your donation really does make a difference. So thank you for your PayPals and your Zells and your Venmos. Let your body be comfortable. We have to include our bodies whenever we're working with the nervous system and regulation. Sensing your body as I sense my body right now as refuge. And this doesn't mean that your body doesn't have aches and pains, and it doesn't mean that you're particularly great at being in your body. It just means that the intention to let awareness kind of come beneath the skin is stabilizing. That the body is relatively stable compared to the continuous flow of images and impressions that happen outside of the skin. Whatever being inside your skin feels like, letting yourself soften with that. What would 5 or 10% more ease feel like in your body? Trust initial impressions when I ask that question and then soften with that. There's no need for us to categorize or organize or think about anything right now. Let awareness rest with the way your breath is moving your body. We leave the bone, we move outside the skin when we start to think about ourselves. And so for the next few minutes in silence, we'll just make our practice about re-relaxing back with our breath. Coming back home to this body of imperfect ease as refuge. You're welcome to stay with your shamatha practice, letting it open up to vipassana, be like just muting me. Or turning me down. I'm going to open up the meditation now to reflection around relationship and maybe gaining some insight, some healing around a relational pattern that causes you pain. Thinking about or bringing to mind not any big time rupture or trauma here, but just a rub. There's somebody that there's a rub with. As you bring that being to mind or those beings to mind, staying with your body and noticing the places in your body that there may be contraction happening. Or activation happening in your throat or your chest or your belly. Let that person kind of, they're still here, but you're with you and with these sensations that are coming up. What are you most needing right now? What are these sensations most needing? Acceptance, to be heard, to be seen, to be reassured. Maybe something else is arising. We can bring our hand to our chest or maybe to the belly too. And there's no need to make this feeling change or go away. But just to sense what it's like to bring in the medicine of your presence. And to remind yourself that you're not doing anything wrong, that these feelings aren't wrong. And they're yours. What's it like to open up to this being loved, cared for, to say, yeah, this matters. It matters that you feel this way. If there's any message or wisdom here, noticing that, noticing if anything has shifted or not. And whenever you're ready, you can let go of this reflection. Trusting however it unfolded and unfolded right. And then just letting yourself come back to this refuge of ease in your body. Imperfect ease. A man and a woman sit near each other. And they do not long at this moment to be older or younger, nor born in any other nation or time or place. They are content to be where they are, talking or not talking. Their breaths together feed someone whom we do not know. The man sees the way his fingers move. She sees her hands close around a book she hands to him. They obey a third body that they share in common. They have made a promise to love that body. Age may come. Parting may come. Death will come. A man and a woman sit near each other. As they breathe, they feed someone we do not know, someone we know of, whom we have never seen. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be happy. So good to sit with you. Thank you so much for your donations. And I have 2 spots for my retreat, my retreat here in Long Beach on September 17th. So there's a link at the bottom of the email that went out today or yesterday, but it's also on my Instagram handle on my link tree. Love to hear your takeaways. Go ahead and put them in the chat. Love you too, Devaya. So glad you could be with us. Yeah, Marilyn. Good, good. Refuge, yeah. Even if that's, like I say, even if it's no small thing to remember that today, for us to be in our bodies when we're in relationship with people, with life, be in our bodies and just sense what that's like. If that's more of the priority than sizing ourselves up or sizing them up, or like, you know what I mean? Like there's all kinds of things we do behind the scenes without even realizing it when we're not in our bodies, when we're with each other. So we need to tend to ourselves and our bodies instead of trying to control the other. Good takeaway. Yeah, you're welcome, Erin. So good. So good to have you. Much to think about relationships with others and with ourselves. They're so complex. Especially when we're 2 heads, you know, like forget it. Yeah. All right. Bye. See you next week. You can take yourself off mute if you like. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.